What's up, you guys? Void here, coming back at y'all with another Commander deck tech video. As you can see here, there was a poll for my patrons on what the next deck tech would be, and they chose Teysa Orzhov Scion, the token build specifically. If you're unfamiliar with her, she is a 3 mana in Orzhov colors, 2/3 legendary human advisor with 2 abilities, one an activated ability and the other a trigger. You can sacrifice 3 white creatures to remove target creature from the game, and whenever another black creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying into play. So she is very cool. You can interact with her in a whole bunch of ways. Very versatile as a commander, because you can obviously go with tokens, you can go with life gain, and you could obviously go with the combo route. We're going to try to do a little bit of everything, but primarily we're going to focus on the tokens. As always, we're going to take a look at our lands, and there's really 3 noteworthy ones. The rest is just mana fixing. Bajuka Bog, a little bit on a budget, pretty decent graveyard hate though. And then we have 2 really cool cards for this deck. Vault of the Archangel, because we do have that sub-theme of life gain, but also giving our creatures death touch is pretty sweet. And the Westvale Abbey is in just about every single token deck in the format, because hey, why not sacrifice 5 creatures to get a pretty badass one? Moving on to our artifacts, we have 8 of them. Skull Clamp, just about every single token deck wants to play this card. 1 mana for 2 cards is pretty sweet. And we have the staples such as Soul Ring, Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots. Why not protect our Teysa? We also have an Orzhov Signet for mana fixing and ramp. We also have an Ashnod's Altar. We're going to need some sack outlets, so why not play one of the better ones? Going to give us 2 colorless mana for a creature. We have Blasting Station, another sack outlet, because we are playing the Darkest Hour combo. So this and really any other creature in Teysa is pretty much going to be a win with Darkest Hour. But we're going to talk about that card more later. We have Commander Sphere. More mana can sack itself to draw us a card. Moving on to our creatures, we play 24 of them. We have Soul Warden. You're going to see a lot of these life gain creatures in here. They're going to interact with creatures dying, entering the battlefield, all that stuff. Soul Warden is pretty sweet. Gonna go along with that sub-theme pretty well. We have a Blood Artist and a Zulaport Cutthroat. Gonna do pretty much the same exact thing. A little bit different though. And with Darkest Hour and any sack outlet, these are gonna win us the game as well. We have a Reassembling Skeleton. Really sweet to get this back over and over again. When it does die with Teysa out on the field, it's gonna replace itself with a 1/1 white spirit. We have a Skur's Dag High Priest, the morbid trigger, so a creature has to die. You could tap it and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to put a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So you have some token production, but not just any token, a pretty badass one. And then we have a Suture Priest, because why not? We're playing Soul Warden. We want to be able to punish our opponents who are trying to play tokens as well. That's a very underrated thing about the card. And then we have a Hollowed Spirit Keeper. When this one dies, we get X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of creature cards in our graveyard, which can be a decent number. Even if it's not too many, still we're getting more white creatures that we can sacrifice to exile other creatures. We have a Mentor of the Meek, because like Skull Clamp, pretty decent advantage for playing tokens. We get a lot of creatures with power 2 or less entering the battlefield, so why not? We have an Ophiomancer. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no snakes, you get to put a 1/1 black snake creature token with death touch onto the battlefield, so pretty much just replenishes the same snake over and over again. I think that's pretty cool. And then we have a Twilight Drover. Whenever a creature token leaves the battlefield, you get a +1/+1 counter on it, and you get to remove a +1/+1 counter from Twilight Drover to put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield for 3 mana. So really cool interaction there with tokens. A Cryptghast is never a bad thing in a black-white deck. X-Tord is always pretty sweet. A Myria Angel is another way that we can get some more white creatures. Has the landfall trigger so that we can get a 1/1 white bird every time we have a land enter the battlefield. And then we have a Falcon Wrath Noble, same exact reason as Blood Artist, but is a flying version of it. Hero of Bladehold is another cool way that we can get some more white tokens. Whenever it attacks, we put 2 1/1 white creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking their soldiers. And she also has Battle Cry, so whenever she attacks, each other attacking creature is going to get +1/+0. So really cool if you want to swing in. We have a Smothering Abomination, yet another way that we can sacrifice creatures, get value for them. We're going to be getting a bunch of card draw for that. Andric Sar, Master Breeder, one of the better black creatures for token builds. Going to give us some thralls equal to the total CMC of creatures that we cast. Geist Honored Monk is going to give us 2 spirits upon entering the battlefield, and has power and toughness equal to the total number of creatures we have. Ogre Slumlord, whenever another non-token creature dies, so this includes your opponent's creatures, you may put a 1/1 black creature token onto the battlefield, and rats you control have death touch, so that's pretty sweet. Captain of the Watch, going to give you 3 1/1 white creatures, so really going to satisfy Teysa there, and other soldier creature tokens are going to get +1/+1 in Vigilance. Grave Titan, another really good black token-based creature creature. This one's going to give you zombies every time it enters the battlefield or attacks. Then we have a Requiem Angel. Whenever another non-spirit creature token you control dies, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So really going to work well with Teysa, giving you more spirits. Elish Norn, perfect for token builds. I don't really care what kind of token build it is as long as it's in white. Why not play Elish Norn and pump them up by 2? Also going to shrink your opponent's creatures, one of the best white creatures in the format overall. And then we have the other Teysa, giving us more ways to get tokens. This one is more of a defensive creature, because whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you destroy that creature, and then you get a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. So kind of like the other one, we're just going to get more advantage. Then we have Razaketh the Foul-Blooded to finish up our creatures. Having a tutor on an activated ability that really doesn't cost mana, just life and sacrificing a creature, is really deadly. Also an 8/8 Flampler is pretty nice. We do have 2 Planeswalkers, and they're pretty much just token-based Planeswalkers. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, gonna give us a 1/1 black vampire creature token with a lifelink on his plus, so that's really good with Teysa. As long as it's a black creature, we can kill it off and get more white creatures. His minus is just an anthem for our creatures, and his ult is pretty much just going to steal some stuff from our opponents. Hopefully they have other Planeswalkers, so that's pretty cool. And then Elspeth Sun's Champion is really just in here for her plus, because her plus is going to give us the fuel that we need for Teysa, so that we can exile more of our opponent's stuff. We do have 9 enchantments in here. Darkest Hour is going to be the most obvious one. It's going to synergize with Teysa perfectly. All creatures are black, and if you don't know exactly how it works yet, the second part of Teysa's rules text, the trigger, whenever another black creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying into play. Well, that white spirit then becomes black, so it's pretty much just an infinite loop. Every time you sacrifice that creature, it's going to trigger Teysa. However, that creature's always going to become black eventually because of Darkest Hour, so it's just going to keep going over and over again, that loop. And things like Blood Artist, Blasting Station that have triggers whenever creatures die or leave play are going to be really deadly. Intangible Virtue, creature tokens we control are going to get +1/+1 and have Vigilance. So more support for our token creatures in combat. Spirit Bonds, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, we can pay 1 white mana and get a white spirit. We can always sacrifice a spirit to have target non-spirit creature gain indestructible until end of turn. Phyrexian Arena is one of the better black enchantments in the format. Going to give us some extra card draw at the cost of life during our upkeep. Anointed Procession is a perfect card for this deck, really because tokens are so awesome in here, and getting more white tokens means that we have more stuff that we can remove. Field of Souls is going to act like another Teysa. Whenever a non-token creature is put to a graveyard from the battlefield, we put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So we get more 1/1 white spirits. We keep getting more and more of them. Never a bad thing. And then we have Grave Pact and a Dictate of Erebos, going to do the same exact thing. Whenever a creature we control is put into a graveyard, technically tokens hit the graveyard. Each other player is going to sacrifice a creature. And then our last enchantment is a Cathar's Crusade. We have the potential, whether it's with Darkest Hour, that loop, to get a ton of ETBs, so we can get a bunch of +1/+1 counters on all of our creatures, making our team really awesome. And then we move on to our sorceries. We have 11 of them. Martial Coup is a pretty nice board wipe / token producer. If X is 5 or more, we get to destroy all other creatures. But more importantly, we have a way to get a bunch of 1/1 white soldiers. Lingering Souls is pretty sweet, pretty underrated, but in a token variant. It never really hurts to have more fuel for Teysa, and especially if you can flash it back and get 2 more of them. Debt to the Deathless, if our token strategy doesn't necessarily win us anything, having this card late game is really awesome, and it's likely going to win us the game then. We have a Diabolic Tutor, a little bit on a budget, but this is still pretty sweet. 4 mana to get whatever we need from our deck. Wrath of God, pretty simple. Conqueror's Pledge, a kicker card. We get to put 6 1/1 white core soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. If it was kicked, we put 12 of them instead. So just an insane amount of value for this card. Increasing Devotion, kind of the same deal, but this one is with flashback. We put 5 1/1 human creature tokens onto the battlefield for 5 mana. We get to flash it back for 9, and instead of just 5, we put 10 instead. So really sweet, you get multiple uses out of that. Merciless Eviction, great exiling removal for whatever permanent's really causing you problems. A Nomad's Assembly, putting a 1/1 white core creature token onto the battlefield for each creature you control is really awesome. Having that rebound so that it happens again on your next turn is going to get out of hand pretty quickly. Spectral Procession is kind of like Lingering Souls, but 3 mana for 3/1/1 white spirit creature tokens. And obviously, if you don't have 3 white mana available, you could just pay the hybrid there. It's just too generic. And then Army of the Damned is going to give you 13 tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens for a whopping 8 mana, but it's definitely worth it. And you can flash it back for 10 mana. So multiple uses out of this. Has the downside of them being tapped, but still decent in any token deck. And then we wrap up the deck with our 8 instants. We have the obvious Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, some of the best removal spells in the entire game. Secure the Wastes is going to give us X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens onto the battlefield at instant speed, so it's even better than a lot of the other ones. Anguished Unmaking, Mortify, versatile removal. Anguished Unmaking is a little bit better because it can exile a non-land permanent. White Sun Zenith is kind of like Secure the Wastes, but a little bit worse. Gonna cost you 3 white mana and then X to create X 2/2 white cat creature tokens, so they're a little bit bigger, but still, you would rather have the numbers of white creatures versus just bigger white creatures. Then we have a Return to Dust, gonna deal with artifacts and enchantments, and up to 2 of them, so that's pretty sweet. Utter End is gonna deal with a non-land permanent by exiling it, so kind of like an Anguished Unmaking without the cost of life. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this deck tech. Let me know what you think about it. I enjoy doing this. This is one of my favorite commanders in the entire game. She's just so versatile. The colors, I really enjoy it. You get a combination of good removal and control, and you also get some awesome token synergies. And if you really like the life gain sub-themes, you're really going to like black-white, and especially with Teysa, there's just a ton of things that you can do, even beyond this deck. But as always, guys, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If you want to become a patron, the link to that will be in the description box below. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.